Eight Strangers in the Park as the World Falls Apart by Natasha Mihell. A Note from Death. What follows is a musical composition alia forma, an impressionistic requiem composed for 8 voices or 8 sequences. Though each sequence revolves around a single event, each should be read with its own moods, tempos, and dynamics. Grief, after all, wears many faces. But I have said too much. For greater understanding, I would simply ask now that you ground yourself in the sounds, sights, and smells of the evening as laid out below. Other sounds in the park tonight. Faraway yelling, the calls of crows, it is not too late, and sparrows, the clunk of cars over speed bumps, impatient, unintelligible conversation, wind through brown oak leaves, the distant song of an unknown string instrument, handmade. Other sights in the park tonight, lidless apartment windows blinking gold to the road below, skyscrapers, Pluto time, blue bathing the sky, snow glitter beneath the street lamps, young hardwoods stretching maize branches overhead, slow falling January flakes, years of stomped gum mosaicked in the cobblestones where the snow is shoveled. Other smells in the park tonight, snow scent, quite metallic but not like iron, frosted iron gates, stale perfume on winter coats, diesel exhaust, hand cream, lily of the valley, fear scent, vinegar. And now we begin. Fortissimo con amore. Breath. The red dot lady. There's a woman who's been shot in the head, and now there are 7 of us in this park. I'd talk about the woman. Oh my gosh, I know you want me to, but dear God, just forget about her. There's not much to say that's not already been felt. Instead, I'll talk about what matters to me, okay? As I imagine the others will do, and then we'll go on with our lives because, well, she's dead now. She's dead. What else is there to do? Me, I'm just a visitor here in this park, passing through. Just my luck, am I right? Violence is so epidemic, so banal, like everyone's doing it, like it's some fad. It exhausts me. Too much watching the news. Anyway, I used to call this dump home. Funny. But upon returning, I found the city and the park changed. The people, too. Yes, I found death here. And I found you, the one I looked up to once. So just forget the dead woman, please, please. We're talking about you and me, and this is the story of many deaths. I'm pleased we spoke again. I'm pleased that after so many years, we both allowed each other the space we needed to converge with all the might of that old folk song, tra-la-la, tra-la-la. It was the right time for it to happen, our meeting, I mean, and not the other thing. Bang! And as day bleeds into evening here in this city I once called home, and I type out the circles in my brain all over my phone, I am left with robust waves of sentiment. Yes, I wonder if it was serendipity or fate. Did you feel it too? The purity of our encounter? Did you see all the shimmery edges of those fractals of time moving as they did through space? They aligned to lead me here, to this park, in the cold with my summer dress and slippers. I played bouffon for you, not clown, not quite, but adjacent to and not on purpose. It was simply me, as you know. I only knew how to live one way and so walked, a stranger, through this home I once knew. Gleefully, I swiped the dirt upon my face, in my case the Revlon 777, and the rouge and the coal, and asked the world of my memories to laugh at me. I recognized our vague interest, but we spoke again. Yes, there's a woman who's been shot in the head, but we spoke again. Thank God. Thank God. Have you ever had the opportunity to fill the cracks of your heart with gold? Kintsugi, to have true closure with someone. It would not have happened, my dear, without the confluence of all those many choices. To stay hidden and then not to paint the face, to wear the dress, to engage in the slow process of healing. It would not have appeared had we not rejected each other almost entirely for half a life. Quite a feat, yes, but the world moved on as it always does after such a death. Heads down, satisfied, but for want of the sun, tra-la-la, tra-la-la. There's a woman who's been shot in the head, but in the park, in the city, in the starshine, we shared good words and the time-washed love. We shared secrets in each other's eyes, watched over by familiar strangers. Though so much of my world has been colored by what had since been washed under the bridge between us, much more had changed for us both. And so, in that moment, I knew largely gratitude. Aside from this, I suppose, an old yearning to have what I used to have with you, whatever that was. How to quantify an old love, a deep need to be seen by you, a wish you could have remained, that the break had not been so agonizing. But alas, this is the way it had to be, or else I could not have been in this particular park on this particular day, witness to the bang, gone death of a particular woman. You left before it happened, though, and I witnessed it. I guess I have to talk about it, don't I? Maybe it's impossible not to. The others, I'm not sure if they saw. They must have, though some kept walking and some kept their heads turned away. They must have at least heard the shot. Alas, alas, that the bite in the air distracted me from the wet on the hem of my dress or the heaviness in my slippers, that the snow was stained red dots all over me, but all I wanted to know was gratitude. In the park, we don't want to look each other in the face. What else is there to do? I'm afraid the spotlight fell upon me only when my eyes found her corpse, only for that moment, until I wrenched them away and back to the memory, back to things that hardly mattered anymore. The Virgin with her head bowed. This is the story of many deaths, I guess, but what do I know? There's a woman who's been shot in the head, but I kept walking. That might have been cruel, but I was scared. I was. See, I followed the man coming from the theater. He seemed to know where he was going. See, I kept walking still, have to, and I keep thinking about the woman, not the one who was shot, the one who was tarred and feathered and tied to the box. All clowned up, poor thing, so like the dead woman, so like the red dot woman who watched the dead woman die. Tarred and feathered, poor thing. Have you heard of her too? So many victims, so many women dying and tortured. And it's always the same old thing. Seems to be. Oh, tragedy. How she must have heard their footsteps as they walked away. The perpetrators, I mean. How she must have shook. Poor tarred and feathered woman. I would have. How she must not have been able to think. Who could in that heat? See, the sun was hotter that day than it usually was. Were you not also pulling the damp shirt from your sticky back? Ew, swiping the salt from your nose? See that woman on the box? An iron one, if I recall, her face pulsing beneath the full white sun, and she worried what would become of her body in the muck. She was unable to weep, for the molasses solidly stuck her eyelids and lashes together. The darkness frightened her, as it is wont to do to anyone who is unfamiliar with it. Half an hour later, she heard more footsteps. Good Lord, who let her lay there baking to death? How could anyone be as cruel as that? She could not bring herself to cry for help, but whimpered as the stranger bent next to her. A stranger, or a friend, or a husband, who knows? It was a man, a workman by the sound of his voice. It was gruff, as workmen's voices can be, finished with a Sligonian lilt. I always liked the music of the Yeatsman accent when it was soft and rough at the same time. There we are, miss, he said, his compassion making her tremble as he lifted her from the ground. He took a pocket knife to the bonds around her wrist, for workmen carry such things, see, catching her as she nearly fell from fatigue. Easy now, we've got but a little ways to go, and then we'll put you cleaned up. They took a few steps forward. He had his hand on her back in the way men can sometimes when they are noble and unentitled. It wasn't long before she nearly collapsed again, however, and he had to stop and steady her. She moved closer to him for the rest of their journey, clinging to him, though she had no idea where they were going, or indeed whether she could trust him. But she had no choice, see, and he was the only one today who had shown her any kindness. It took her only a short time, 5 minutes, so he must have lived nearby, but they made it to his brownstone. There, sat in his living room, he went for her eyes first, scraped away at the molasses, rubbing fears and feathers to the side. The stove polish still caked her face there, but he seemed relieved he had got most of the liquid sugar off. He did the other eye next, and then, using his thumbs, gently rubbed her eyes. When he took his hands away, she blinked, and for the first time was able to see him. His voice was full of comfort. "It is good to see you with your eyes, miss." Only then did she weep, poor thing. The trembling began again. The man's gaze shifted from compassion to concern. "It's okay, miss. You're safe now. You're safe here. It's okay. There's a woman who's been shot in the head, but I really don't know her name. Why would I? I couldn't remember the name of the workman or the tarred and feathered woman. I ought to have been able to remember her name at least. Ought to have. When she moved past the threshold from one life to the next, that is, a life of bliss to a life of trauma, made into something else for someone else's pleasure. But even feathered, she would go on, see, for there would be more conversations after the one with the workman. She could paint her face with makeup and forget the humiliation for a time, and there'd be no more blood staining the cobbles of this city, or my eyes. She wouldn't turn the people against one another and tire them out. So at the end of the day, they sat in their armchairs in silence and thought of the way the world used to be before women got shot in the streets. Bang! Gone! See, sometimes I think the memory of her, the one I keep in me, is honor enough. And sometimes I think these little flights of imagination are just my own little game of dice theory. Didion style, with my head down and my eyes glazed over, so the man on the bus doesn't look my way. But when I get home tonight, yes, when I get home, I will turn on the television and watch as the woman is thrust to the ground. I will watch the man drop down atop her, violating her eagerly. I will blink as the picture dissolves to talking heads that use clever adjectives to describe the slow slaughter of her heart. The academic in the crowd, his head turned just so. There's a woman who's been shot in the head. You know this already. One woman stands drenched in her blood, and another walks past in a hurry. Yes, the world is falling apart. You know this already. They see it too, but it has done so much before and will do so again. Allow me to explain. The Salem witch trials lasted, stay with me for fuck's sake, 15 months from February 1692 to May 1693, during which time 20 people were executed and many more arrested. Google it if you'd like. Interesting reading, especially for the postmodern feminists, I'm sure. Ahem. Anyway, with this event began a breaking of charity, so Arthur Miller suggested, a dissolution that splits families apart from within, not only within family units, I dare say, but within the selves of each member of the family. Some moral values held by these individuals overcame other moral values until righteousness became tyrant even to love. Charity was broken, so to speak, out of fear, which gave itself easily to ignorance and a demand for order where the voiceless saw only chaos. To put it plainly, the great tragedy of the witch trials is that a doctrine of discrimination led to a fearful and uneducated public eager to fulfill their moral duty and destroy evil, unaware or unwilling to recognize that the evil they sought to destroy existed within them, not without. Spooky. A microcosmic instant like this of the breaking of charity would be repeated throughout the 15 months of the trials, casting human beings in the inescapable prison of someone else's false morality. Oh, are you interested in bibliographies? Excellent. Someone after my own heart. Take a peek at the following, savvy reader. Excerpt from The Crucible. Penguin Random House, Canada. Penguin Random House, Canada. Arthur Miller. Why I Wrote The Crucible by Arthur Miller. The New Yorker, October 14th, 1996. So it's really altogether easy to understand there's a woman who's been shot in the head. But my point is, she isn't the only one that died today, and she won't be the last. Fuck me, this park is god-awful, and these people bring to mind Sartre and Huisclos on Nishi and the herd. There's another there, a man in a beanie cap. What a bastard. He just walks by. You know how they go in this park. And don't even look at the corpse. You know how they're all on their phones playing Candy Crush or whatever the fuck. There's a woman who's been shot in the head and no one cares to hear it. But I have the answer, such as it is. Consider a mending of charity, differentiation. In some way, I am different from you. Curiosity. I seek to learn about what makes us different and allow you to learn the same about me. Self-education. I make an active effort to engage in this process of learning. Mutually beneficial policies. We create a political environment together in which all our needs are met to the best of our ability. Understanding. Love. I have recognized our mutual differences. We are now justified in acting in our collective interest. Because we respect each other, I will treat you as well as I would treat myself and those like me, and respect your needs and wants as you respect mine. In other words, a conscientious reconstruction of the relationship between power and freedom to create a society that Miller might have been. Alas, I lost you long ago, didn't I? Nobody gives a fuck. I really ought to be heading home anyway, for the plays have just let out, and with the lineups at the station, I'll be late for supper. The Man in the Beanie Cap, The One Who Stayed, Part 1. In the manner of a soliloquy, breaking the fourth wall. There's a woman who's been shot in the head, but I came from the theater, and there, these things happen all the time. They love blood in the theater. The actor was shot with a gun, left center, after soliloquizing to us all the twilight within him. They can do that, these actors. Touch the void. Anyway, most violently, bang, gone. Death took him. A blood strawberry under the white tunic. Great trick. Then he died, just there, just like the woman in the park. Yes, there were many deaths tonight, many ghosts. The theater probably housed thousands more for the decades of stories it nurtured in its velvet wings. Steadily. After the performance, we gathered at the backstage door, the threshold between his life and ours, and waited. This is what you do at the shows if you're a tourist. I smelled traffic fumes and garbage. My belly was light with no food and little water. House lights like stars still danced in my eyes. Drunk on these sensations, I was pulled utterly to the moment, and I knew I would be forever connected to him, to what was about to happen. Then he arrived, this actor, this stranger, a corpse at the door. He let us take from him photographs, autographs, soon electrocardiographs and epitaphs. One by one, tired eyes, wrinkled face, but smiling. Have you ever loved someone so deeply and hardly knew them at all? It's all theater in the end, whether on stage or in the park, until it isn't. I waited unseen as the wave of people swept me to and fro, but by some divine miracle, the line connecting us drew taut. Behind the grand drape they'd sewn for him, the one between the sparkle of what they thought he was and the grit of what he knew himself to be, he met my eyes. He saw my longing. He saw me. I'm not sure what he made of me then, my face painted all Buffon. But I thought he saw the grit in me too, a capacity for love beyond doubt, the same as his. He told me his body man there was one more goodbye tonight. I shook, terrified to be so close to his heart, to know he saw me, to be gifted this kindness by he who embraced it so. He brought me close. We took a photograph, and then, tired. I would learn of his suicide years later, sitting and eating my lunch in a mall food court. They love blood in the theater, but I just can't handle off-Broadway. Well, that's why I left the park in a hurry tonight. Time isn't linear, and grief is a walloping thing. You must understand, there's a woman who's been shot in the head, but that blood strawberry will stick with me for years to come, and I know it already. I've already shed far too many tears. For his loss, for the violence of it, for the knowledge I have, this secret knowledge that within him existed the rare sort of kindness the world he would leave behind has given up on, and he would take it with him. Or maybe not. He reminded me of its importance, at least. In a heart like this, in a sometimes sorrowful soul like mine, that generosity of heart is a worthy reminder of the value of this life, even at twilight, even in a weeping world. The Small Man in Green, The One Who Stayed, Part 2. There's a woman who's been shot in the head, and we're all just standing around her. Well, those of us who didn't run away. And I'm thinking of that dance in the Nutcracker. Do you know it? The pas de deux? I had a music box on my desk at work years ago, a gift from a client, and it had a little ballerina in it, tutu and slippers. When you opened it, it would play the pas de deux, the Tchaikovsky, and the ballerina would spin. Behind her, the scene painted on the curved backing was of a glass gazebo with snow falling about it. Little fuzzy flakes dappled on there with oil. It was an old trinket, beautifully constructed, and the effect of the box was magic. When I opened it, I'd be altogether lost in the music, and it was as if my office itself had taken on the sparkling snowfall of the scene, and I was the only observer to catch a glimpse of my past through the scent of a late winter morning. Have you ever smelled that? Oak and snow? Or the touch of snowflake on my tongue? This woman, she reminded me of that. And so as much as I wanted to go to follow the man in the beanie cap, I had to stay and keep looking, keep staring at the gentle slope of her bare shoulders and the crooked angle of her neck. Pale skin, yes, very, and I wonder what her face looked like before all that blood and offal. And I can't help but admire her black locks and her coat, which is a perfect 1970s pea coat, a pretty crimson one, very fashionable. The red, brighter somehow than the red that came out of her, the stuff in the snow. Peacoats like that go from anywhere from $50 to $1,200 nowadays, I think, but the quality makes me think it's one of the real expensive ones. I see she's wearing tights too, which makes me wonder how many women still wear tights. And now I'm thinking if she could just stand up, the way her hair is so prettily curled, she would look just exactly like that ballerina. And wouldn't it be wonderful for her to be on her tippy toes, too, swaying at the beautiful song, performing right now? I suppose she is performing, really, even if against her will. I shouldn't be staring, but there are people shouting, and if I take my eyes from her, even for a moment, it's like she was never there, you know? I have to remember. The pas de deux is just 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes long. The reclined person in blue. There's a woman who's been, well, you know, and I saw who did it. It was redacted. I was near the bench with the others, and they didn't think I was looking, but I was. I always see now, whether I want to or not, but I didn't try to stop. Redacted. No. I took a seat on the bench and closed my eyes. You might wonder why. Simply, it was easier and less tiring than running after him. I already knew the motive. The killer was redacted. So desirous of love, he starved himself for the want of it. He wanted so bad he forgot himself in the endeavor, and so he hurt outward, not inward. This is the tragedy of the tyrant. But it wasn't the man who shot her so much as the man who gave him permission to shoot her. Get it? It was easier and less tiring because I have known tyrants. I have known them by the foul and wanton wreckage they leave, their insidiousness, drip-fed poison into a family, a friendship, a soul, until one looks around and sees their world turn red. And black was static, the weight of a mute, grainy film sealing the airway of a people, choking them until the artists are forgotten along with any semblance of trust. A tyrant unspooled me once, unwove me, my threads picked apart until the fabric was frayed, and then, one after another, each strand laid upon the ground. He started at my crown, and my head grew fuzzy, and with his nimble fingers he spun circles until it fell away. Then my neck, my breasts, my thighs, my ankles, all these threads he took and laid out carefully and rearranged. So many ribbons of a self, made simply, made pretty. He finished his patterning, then wove me back together again, all different. And when I came to stand before the altar of his essence, reborn, I was nothing like what I had been. I was new and old. I was me and not. I was changed. How does one come to know a stranger she has never been? From what fulcrum does she judge this person or make decisions? Where does one locate a heart in the bundle of thread? Yes. So you see, I have known tyrants, and I won't insult you by telling you I tried to stop, redacted, when he shot her. I used to try. I don't anymore. I have no power over a man who has lost his heart. I'm just one person, redacted. It ends only one way for all of us, doesn't it? Death. Hers, his, yours, mine. What does it matter anyway? Do we not all have dreams of the whole city burning? Damn it all, don't see a way out, dreams? I am aware I am complicit in her victimhood. I would be a fraud to say I had no power to do anything. I am, instead, a coward. But, redacted, did what he did because he wanted to, and that was inevitable. Well, that's why I close my eyes. Don't get me wrong, I'll cry about it too, but it's just another 5-minute tragedy that will be lost to time. A tyrant will do what he will. I'm tired. The small woman in the background with her head bowed. Hey, so I'm reminded of you when I'm scared, and so as I cower here on the frosty bench with the others, as we wait and listen to the sirens, I forget about work tomorrow, or school, or the call I was meant to have with a friend. As I do all this, I think you would tell me, as you once did, to get up, stop being dramatic or ridiculous. Hey, so there's a woman who's been shot in the head. But back then, it happened on the hard gray carpet of that old United Church beneath the gray plastic table they put out for social gatherings. Yes, I had crumpled to the floor, or I had concealed myself. Who knows? Because someone far older than me was using me in ways I shouldn't have been used. And I couldn't tell a soul. Nope, not even you. Hey, so nothing had happened in any sense that mattered, I suppose, but the raw wreckage of my soul, yes, he had pulled me away from what I loved until my focus was him, and sometimes only him, and I did not realize until later the sickness of it, did not realize until I had to pull myself out of the muck. I was mired in that. I had fouled the last good years of my childhood. No, not me. I had not done it. At least it was not my fault. But do you see how difficult language is? That shame, even now, is a challenge for me to master. When it was he who should have known better, and you had been there all along, an unwitting witness, and I blamed you for doing nothing, blamed you for not being able to save me, even as you pulled away. Oh, the accusation was unfair, but I was so young, you see, and I was scrabbling in the dark. Hey, so there on my knees, that's what you said. Get up, get off the stage if I'm not prepared to sing. And I read that now as a mission, as purpose, because there's a woman who's been shot in the head, and what else am I to do? Wallow? What to do? What to do when the privileged hold the answers and speak only to the void? Ought I to pick up a gun? Ought I to hunt the man who shot her? Bang! Gone! Or ought I to scream into my pillow like a child? Or stomp, stomp, stomp away? Hey, so I am a reader and I have read about all these things. I am a writer and I have written them. I have paid to watch films where people are killed and raped, and these stories, they say, are meant for something. But the words themselves cause me to recoil in alarm, because there it is, laid bare, a woman who's been shot in the head, lying in the snow in a city park. Hey, so it's not like it hasn't happened in any other city, in any other part of the world. It has even happened here before. But it's the betrayal too, isn't it? The breaking of the contract we all seem to have at one point that suggested we would do our best for one another, that we would get up, get off the stage if we were not prepared to sing. Hey, so the stories I loved, the ones I turned to with the white trees and sunrises and singing kings, they wrapped up all the horror in a passion for humanity, painted it in a new face. Yes, they wrote of new beginnings and what could come next. They held my heart in their hands and soothed me with good words and said more in 5 minutes than a gun ever could. The ghost with their back turned. There's a woman who's been shot in the head. Bang! She came out of nowhere, but you saw her again tonight. A photo from an unexpected place landing right in front of your eyes. You were caught off guard. Your hands shook. Your heart tightened. Your lips shuddered. You remembered everything then, didn't you? Cradling the cold metal of that gun barrel, running your fingers up and down it. Stroking it with an intimacy it never asked for. Gone. When you saw that photo, you saw her as you saw her then. You saw why she was attractive to you. She was appealing far more than you remembered. Years of hating her had made your memory of her ugly, but she was not. You wish she was. You wish what she had done to you showed on her face, but it didn't. Not in this memory, and it doesn't. She still has an attractive smile. She still has attractive eyes, an attractive jaw, attractive eyebrows, attractive hair. You can remember the way she smelled, can't you? Oak and snow. The way the slope of her shoulders made you feel. The way it felt to stand above her, as if beneath her, to revel in her presence. You saw her and you panicked. Uh-oh, where to escape? You went to your mother's side and knelt, telling the woman who gave birth to you you'd seen her again. You asked to take your mother's hand. She let you take it in silence. She's heard it all before. Yes, yes. She has heard all about that woman. Others have too. Yes, the ones out there, the ones on the news, the ones on their phone, the ones watching the plays and writing the essays in their ivory towers. Others who have judged you for why you would stay in a relationship like that one. Some understand, some don't. Others ask, who let her lay there freezing to death? It's all so very senseless. You left your mother's side, returned to your room, paced around. That woman. She bled to death in the park, but that was years or 5 minutes ago. You pulled the photo up once more, like one of those people on their phones. You took your time to look at it. Her. Maybe if you stared at her face, what was left of it, long enough, the feelings would go away. Oh, she met your eyes through the image, eyeless though she was. You stared and stared and stared and remembered and remembered and remembered. You felt 10,000 things and nothing all at once. Your breath shook. You began to cry. There's a woman who's been shot in the head, and she will never know how much she's undone you. She will never know how much pain she's caused. She will never care. She is a memory. Oh, you get ghosts. Alas, alas. There's a woman who's been shot in the head, and your feelings are plentiful, and you're not sure which to trust. You think, for now, you shall choose anger. That seems to be the most productive. When you looked at her, after all, a part of you wished to destroy the photo and destroy her in the process. Kill her, as she had done you. But you'd already done that. You hate her. You are strong now, and you won't let the tears come. Or perhaps that is simply your ice wall building up. Again, you had that for a while. You don't want it back. You think dangerous things. There's a woman who's been shot in the head, and you have tried to convince yourself for years to show forgiveness to everyone, even the vilest. But how can you convince yourself to forgive someone you hate so profoundly? How can you convince yourself to forgive someone who used you? Alas, alas. None of the stories have meaning, and all of them do. A picture means nothing and everything. What value was there in her life anyway, except the value that all of us have? How to quantify a life in the touch of a mother, with the mending of charity? Nihilism doesn't do it for you anymore, poor thing. Nihilism doesn't stain the way blood does. Oh, you think, oh, pity the monsters, for they are made such victims in my mind. Breath. Da capo el fine.